Right, in today's tutorial we're going to be revising classification. So classification is quite a short topic. We're just going to pick out the important key points. So the first thing is, what's the definition for classification? Well, classification is grouping living organisms based on their characteristics, or we can call those their homologous features or their morphology. Morphology just means what things looked like. So if we look at homologous features, they're features that organisms share. So for example, humans walk on two legs. That's a homologous feature that we all share. The scientist that was responsible for coming up with the classification system was Linnaeus. And what Linnaeus did was he used 7 levels of classification, starting with kingdom, which is the most general level of classification. We'll come back to kingdoms in a minute, working all the way down to species through 7 levels. And it's important that you know the order of these levels. So we go from kingdom down to species, but after kingdom we have phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. And the genus and species are often used together to make up what we call the binomial. And I think you'll probably recognise Homo sapiens. Now remember, when you write a binomial, the genus has a capital letter and the species name is in italics. That's how you have to write them. Okay, so once you've got those in order, all that's left to do in your classification topic is to classify organisms into their kingdoms. Now, as we said, there are 5 kingdoms. Okay, so we're going to start with the prokaryotes. It's important that you know probably about 3 features that would place an organism into each of these kingdoms. So if we start off with the prokaryote kingdom, I think you'll remember about prokaryotes is they don't have a true nucleus. Okay, their nucleus is not membrane bound. They don't have membrane bound organelles. They do have a cell wall, but the cell wall is always made of a carbohydrate called peptidoglycan. Okay, so there are 3 good features that you can use when you're trying to classify into the prokaryote kingdom. There are others, and if you want to, you can go back to your cell structure topic and look up more about prokaryotes. The second kingdom that we're going to classify into is the animal kingdom. Okay, that should be the easiest because we're animals. Okay, so animals are eukaryotic. We know that that means they have a true nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. They're multicellular. Okay, we don't get unicellular animals. We don't have a cell wall. Okay, we're the only kingdom that doesn't have a cell wall as a characteristic feature. Can you think of anything else that would mark you into the animal kingdom? There's 3 features that you can use. One other that you might want to consider is the type of nutrition we have. We are heterotrophic. Heterotrophic, hetero means other, and trophic means feeding. It means we have to feed on other things. Okay, so if we look at another kingdom, we've got the plant kingdom. Okay, plants are also eukaryotic and multicellular. Okay, they do have a cell wall, and I'm sure you know that it's made of cellulose. And they are autotrophic. Auto means self and trophic means feeding. So plants are autotrophic because they have chloroplasts and they can photosynthesize. They can make their own food. Okay, so if we look at the 4th kingdom now, okay, the next one that we're going to look at is the fungi. Fungi is slightly different. They're still eukaryotic and multicellular. They have a cell wall. Now this time you can either say it's not made of cellulose, so if you like you can say this particular carbohydrate which is called chitin, C-H-I-T-I-N. And fungi, like animals, are actually heterotrophic. Okay, they have to feed on other things. Another one that you could say about fungi, which is only characteristic of that kingdom, is they reproduce by using spores. Okay, nothing else does that. And then the last kingdom of the 5 that we're left with, this is always the one that we do last, is the Protoctis. The reason that we do the Protoctis last is it's a bit like a dumping ground for organisms that don't fit into the other 4 kingdoms. So there's only really 2 things we can say about Protoctis, and that doesn't even cover all of them, just most of them, is they tend to be unicellular, okay, so cells on their own, and they tend to be eukaryotes. So the question to ask yourself is, do you think it's unicellular and eukaryotic? And if so, it might be a Protoctis, but it's probably not the first one to go for. It's better to consider all of the other ones first. Now, the 5 kingdom system was sort of put together in 1988. In 1990, an American called Carl Woest came up with an alternative system, which is called the 3 domains. Now, the 3 domains uses DNA evidence, whereas the 5 kingdom system just uses those homologous features. So using DNA, Woest said that he thought that there were only 3 domains. The first one is all the eukaryotes, and he called that eukarya. And then he split the prokaryotes into 2 further domains, eubacteria and the archaea. Now that's what you need to know about classification. A task that would be a really good idea would be to write out the 5 different kingdoms and the features which are associated with each kingdom, and then have a go at the exam question and mark your answer.